Okay.
So now a one-to-one correspondence. You can hide the not hearing anything as well. And I think, yeah, I think we said, hi, Ron. Thanks for, this is like a repeat visitor for one of these AI engineering events. So nice to see some returning faces. And welcome to the new ones as well. And thanks to like Casper, Ivan, Ivan, where are you? Ivan is back there. Thanks to the people who set this up, and also this is my first time at Edinburgh. I think it's really nice to see like the VC ecosystem like in Singapore do as well. Like, this actually reminds me of South Park comments in San Francisco. And it's like as a Singaporean who works in the US, lives in the US, it's not common to see like this level of support. So it's really nice to see that happening in the US. In Singapore. So hi, I'm John of Six. I am very heavily involved in the AI engineering ecosystem. And so they asked me to give a few words on just like where things are going and what I've seen so far. And fortunately, this ties into my personal journey in AI engineering. This ties into the thing I'm doing right now, which is the conference and the podcast and the newsletter and everything that I use that you may or may not have done. So I'm basically repurposing an existing talk that basically traced the last year in agents and the LLM OS. So I can just call this AI engineering from agents to LLM OS. This time last year, April 2023, the world was in kind of a auto GPT craze. There was basically, so this is a chart of GitHub stars. This is Django stars, star count. This is Bitcoin star count. This is PyTorch. This is Kubernetes, this is PyTorch and Kubernetes. And then AutoGPT is the red vertical line on the right. So this is obviously like the biggest project since sliced bread. And obviously today, as far as I understand, nobody uses it anymore. It is a huge rise and crash. I call it the tulip bubble at the time. It was obviously never going to last forever, but it's very interesting to see like what lessons can we learn from it, because there's definitely something there. So we can keep scrolling down. So my first take on it was, I called it the anatomy of autonomy. Basically saying like, all right, there's some patterns with AutoGPT and Big AGI that people are independently rediscovering again and again. And so these are probably patterns that will exist for whatever AI agents people build, whether or not you use AutoGPT, whether or not you use Big AGI. Spoiler alert, you won't. But it would probably look like this, and I had a very loose map of like the tools that involved in the big AGI stack to the parts of the brain. I had actual neuroscientists come in and comment that like this is offensive to their eyes. I was like, bro, I'm sorry. I was just like making this up. Also, I just found a nice visual, so I said it. Just to give you an idea, the brainstem is the sorry, I'm still on the image. The brainstem is the foundation models. Then you have external memory, like the next immediate thing, sorry. First you have foundation models, then you have meta cognition. Meta cognition, I just kind of put that thought as like, first you have the ability to think, and then you have the ability to prompt what you think, or just, independent of it, having any other tools, just being able to prompt extends the ability of the foundation model already. So that's step one. Step two is adding external memory, like adding a vector database, of which $225 million of venture capital money was poured into vector databases over the last year. So that's external memory, plugging into prompts, plugging into foundation models, right? Okay, what's next after that? Obviously, external memory is things that you already know. So then step three is browsers for things that you don't yet know, right? So there's a clear separation between stuff that you memorize inside of your vector database and stuff that is just on the web. Browser is one form of tool. So how do you generalize that even further? Then you get step four, which is tool use. So you can use one tool, you can use many tools. After tool use, then you're like, oh, okay, like I can use these tools, but what sequence of tools should I use to put them in order? Which is why step 5 I left is fuse and plan. Having a goal and then being able to utilize tools and planning and external memory and browsers and all that to get to that end state. Okay, now we can scroll down. So that brings us up to May 2023. This is when the NVIDIA Voyager 2 was released. And I would say this is the one that has more stood the test of time from the 2023 vintage of agents than anyone else, basically. And so this one demonstrated how you could beat by far all the existing agent benchmarks by utilizing a set of three principles. I don't really remember off the top of my head, but the core one is curriculum learning, like figuring out what to. Let me just kind of read this with if you haven't covered it, but it's worth a read. It's very accessible. You don't need a PhD to read it. Basically, the goal was like to solve Minecraft. Minecraft being a very well understood game, it doesn't actually have a goal, but they just set themselves a goal of getting a diamond X, which is very hard to get to. It involves tens of thousands of steps. I don't really know, but it's just very hard to get to, even for a human. And they just basically set a bunch of agents, including their own, and race them to try to compete and get the diamond X and see how quickly they could get it. And the Voyager agent got it the quickest using this set of three principles. Principles were curriculum learning and skill library, and there's a third one I don't remember, it's not as important. But the skill library was very, very crucial, which is a part of the agent stack, which that I did not sufficiently appreciate in April. So you can see month to month the metagame evolving very, very quickly. And I think you have to kind of keep up, or you fall really far behind because, add one more year to this, you're not 2 years behind in a lot of reading and thinking about agent evolutions. So what's missing here is the ability to write code. Once you've written the code, it becomes a tool, right? So it's a tool that creates tools. That's the core insight. Agents are really good at writing code, and we should exploit that as much as possible because once the code is written and validated, you never have to write it again. You can just reuse it. And reuse of code is, as you know, like very, very efficient. Okay, so from May, we go into June, where we have Lillian going to OpenAI. She now leads the RLHF on OpenAI. But she also does like really, really good academic literature surveys. So this one, if you want like the survey of literature, like her assessment of agents is agent equals the LLM plus memory plus planning plus tools. Very similar to my breakdown, except doesn't have like that sense of infinite loop, doesn't really have a sense of browsers is one of many tools. She had a few diagrams like for tools. She had a breakdown on memory as well. This is the first real mention of memory as separate from context. Memory is separate from like, oh, you will like shove documents in a vector database function and then retrieve them for retrieval or multi-generation. Here we're actually saying memory of conversations, memory of short-term memory versus long-term memory, semantic memory versus episodic memory. There's a whole philosophy of how memory should work that we are only now beginning to formalize into proper memory databases as opposed to vector databases. Okay. We also have more thinking about planning. There's a whole like chain of thought, skeleton of thought, tree of thought, all this X of thought papers. Most of them are BS. Just to be very, very frank and honest. But you should have some appreciation of how to modify your prompts when you run into the problem as an AI engineer. You should know how to use chain of thought well, and there's like 200 different variations of these things. Around about in June, I started to formalize this idea that you could make a whole career in AI engineering without being a machine learning engineer, without being a research scientist. And that I made this observation in June, and it kind of set everything on fire since then. So the main structure you have to have in your mind is on the left, you're sort of more of a research person. On the right, you're more of a product person, right? You're taking research into production. What is that journey? First, you start with a research scientist or the ML researcher. Then the researcher works as a research engineer who's more working on data pipelines and scaling up training. Then you serve models over the API wall. And usually over the API wall, you just kind of leave it to the full stack engineers to deal with. But as foundation models improve, as research becomes closed source and centralized in a few big labs, the API wall becomes the starting point. And then you have this specialized group of AI engineers that just dedicate and focus on this emerging stack that keeps evolving from month to month. A lot of people joked at the time, this is June last year, that it felt like a full-time job. And so my whole assertion is that I just take it seriously and liberally. It is a full-time job and it will become its own category. I have seen this happen for DevOps engineering, data engineering, front-end engineering, and now it's happening for AI engineering. July, we got Code Interpreter in public release. And this is I would say this was the most successful looping agents that we got in wide economy. So overnight, 100 million people got access to this agent, and it was able to take a task, write bad code, debug that bad code without human interaction for multiple steps until to arrive at the solution. Solution wasn't actually that good, but it's just impressive that we got this for the first time, where it wasn't like chat, response, chat, response, chat, response. It was chat, respond, 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 respond. Right? It was just like this loop until they reached that goal that I initially set. So code interpreter really still underrated as a medium. Okay, so moving on, I think we have a bit of a time shift. Oh yeah, so I also produced this nice diagram. By the way, all this is on the blog, the Making Stakes blog that I write and the podcast that I run. I also produced this nice visual, which people really liked, which is basically like how that stack improves on the pathway to Asia. We're discovering all these things that we're like, okay, now it's not guaranteed. Like, take it for a given that we need all these things. So first we need pre-training, then we need instruct tuning, then we need plugins. Plugins were not good. Okay, fuck it, throw it away. Do user tools. And each of these are basically half versions of GPT. So GPT 3 to 3.5 was adding instruct tuning. 3.5 to 4 was adding mixture of experts. And then 4 to 4.5 was adding code interpreter. Now it seems like we're in kind of like 4.75 very true omni-modality, but we'll get there later. Okay, so now around about August, the meta game evolved to having like, okay, we think we solve agents, now we're doing multiple agents. So here a lot of multi-agent frameworks started appearing, and obviously if you have, I think that the main idea here is that prompting for a single chain of conversation gets you kind of stuck in the local minima of what the task is supposed to be. But if you have multiple agents with different roles and different knowledge bases and different responsibilities, critiquing each other, just like a human would, like wearing different hats, you actually get much better performance. And these guys were able to show it across a variety of scenarios. The caution I will give you here is, the secret about academic research is that you try to improve one benchmark at the expense of all the others. So it is way slower, it is way more expensive. Academics don't care because they just want to push a benchmark to 3% higher. So MetaGPT, AutoGen, and ChatNet were the three winners of that phase. I do think that in the agent world, there's a lot of idealization of game-like mechanics. But you see these kind of like 16-bit things there that are not really super relevant. They're just trying to ape off of the idea of scenes and games and having virtual characters that roam around. I don't really think it is that relevant. So just keep a warning sign and keep a lookout that is a red flag to me. Okay, move on. In November, we really stuck out the first articulation from Andrej Karpathy about the LLM OS. This is something that he's been talking about for a while, but this is the first diagram they produced, and obviously this diagram goes viral because anything that he does goes viral. But it's now formalized the idea that researchers work on the LLM, AI engineers work on all the other stuff, right? Like it is part of the standard toolkit now that we have the embeddings, we have the tools, we have video input, audio input, browsers, other LLMs that we talk to. This is the multi-agent stuff, by the way. And so it seems like it's a very, very well accepted understanding that a full-fledged AI product includes an LLM, but also includes all the other junk that is handled by an AI engineer. And we need to wield all these things super well as part of our jobs if we are going to call ourselves an AI engineer. In December, I put this a milestone because I think that it is basically a very, very, very simple insight that will become mainstream, or mostly has become mainstream. And this is the concept of online LLMs. Most LLMs used to have a training cutoff. If you stop your knowledge in like July 2021, you will never know anything more than July 2021. You do RAG for everything else. Here, you just the basic insight is just connect it to a search engine and just have it up to date. That's the insight, but obviously the details are much harder in terms of how to connect that data really well. I think Google is now facing currently today facing a lot of blowback for doing it badly, or at least doing it at the scale of Google, you will find more bad examples because of Google size. So AI overviews are currently about to be Gemini in the sense of people are poking a lot of holes and not doing Google a lot. It's really unfortunate because the intentions are really good. Like the point being that instead of making the responsibility the external like AI engineer to like do a tool call and call a browser and you get that browser back and all that. You absorb you combine the search engine and the LLM together so that when you send a query to the LLM, it already comes back with the search responses. I think this is a combination of components that makes a lot of sense. And I expect that we'll see more combinations of those things. LLMs with embedded memory, LLMs with embedded RAG. You already see that in the assistance API kind of thing that. Combinations of tools may be more valuable to you or to the individual or local builder than the raw LLM itself. Okay, January. This one is really cool. We did an interview with David Luan. He was the founding VP of Eng for OpenAI. And one of the things that they started talking about was the idea that computer vision is actually on the wrong path. A lot of the past 10 years of computer vision is look at the bounding boxes for cat, dog, chair, car, and all that. That is the typical computer vision problem for embodied agents, like agents in the real world. They were very obsessed with robots. They were very obsessed with identifying things from pictures. And now a bunch of others had the real insight that actually you don't really need that. And you just need to read screens very well. So their definition of AGI is AI systems that can do anything humans can do on a computer. Because through the computer, we can control the world. Like we have already hooked up most of the world to a computer. So you can manipulate a computer really well, read a computer very well. That means OCR, that means chart reading, that means visual understanding as well. Like I call this screen multimodality as compared to normal multimodality, like real world vision. I think this is a much more economically valuable form of multimodality. So this is the evolution of the LLM OS in the sense of like, if you want to give vision to your AI agents, you probably want to give screen vision rather than normal vision. Okay, cool. Feb 2024, this was the anniversary of 1 year of zero growth of ChatGPT. Everyone in January of 2023 was very impressed with the 100 million number of ChatGPT users. Fast forward 1 year, one full calendar year to Feb 2024, same user number. That's not good. What has happened was effectively it's got decomposed into all these other tools. So in a way, I wouldn't call this a failure of OpenAI because they successfully established the API such that people can build on top of them. That a lot of these are basically OpenAI wrappers, right? So like fine, sacrifice ChatGPT, but you're still embedded in all the variants of ChatGPT. I think that's really good. Cool. There's more I can comment there, but good. Around about in November, they started releasing GPTs. And I think the GPTs can be viewed as a sort of roadmap for the LLM OS stack because every single one of these fields is a startup. Knowledge is a RAG startup. Web browsing, complexity, and browser-based, which is the newer startup. Image generation, obviously, Midjourney. Code interpreter is a company called ETB. Like these are all like individual startups that are broken down if you're more specialized at it than OpenAI. Which is pretty easy to do. Okay, I'll skip this as well. March 2024, this is getting quite recent as well. We got access to Devin, and also Devin is kind of like the realization of the full journey that we experienced all the way back through Voyager, through the on-GPT stuff that I talked to you about. I can show you Devin in person because I got access, and they're also speaking at my conference. It's really good. They basically boiled everything down to 4 fundamental tools. We can probably expand this a little bit too. Can you like the mouse in the side and then just kind of drag it out to the there we go. So Devin has 4 components. There's a chat, there's a terminal, there's a browser, and there's an editor. And it basically jumps between 4 of them with a 5th component, which is the planner. So when you chat with it, it updates a plan. The plan executes in the shell, the browser, or the editor. The editor is the code that's being generated. And while it's doing all of that, I've had Debian sessions that run for 3, 4, 5 days autonomously. While it's executing, you can actually still chat with it asynchronously. So you don't have to wait for it to stop, finish. Just while it's still going, you just talk to it like a normal system, and it updates the plan. As it's executing its stuff, it's always checking back on the plan, right? So once the plan is updated, it's just going to go on to respect the new decisions that you fed in. I just think that's a fantastic way to design an agent. I basically see that the main success of Debian is that they crack this smallest viable set of tools that actually give you a lot of general purpose capability. They did massively overclaim on one video, which they got canceled for, but that doesn't take away from the general success of what they've done. So yeah, happy to entertain questions about Debian as well. The last section, I think this is my last one. In this sort of agent space, a lot of this is trying to like sort of business-oriented agents, like how can I put agents to work in business? There's another angle for sort of agents and the LLM OS, which is the personal augmentation. And this is very much the domain of text-to-speech, speech-to-text, private LLMs, low-latency versions, aka real-time versions of all these things. Battery life for sort of portability, and then long context and structured memory. And so there's this whole set of AI variables. I have held or interacted, or I currently own most of these things. And there's a lot of excitement. Most of them are fail, but I think there's something there in the sense of like the most successful evolution of technology in our lifetimes is the smartphone. It's something like 20 years old now. What's going to be next? It's probably one of these things. But there's going to be a conflict between the smartphone and the wearable, and it could be the same thing, but I'm willing to bet that it's not. Okay, I think that is it for the overall things. Oh, okay. So that's like the chronological evolution, right? I'd like to give people a recap of things going forward that they can kind of sink their money on, or like I want to put you on alert that these things are basically the important things to take care of. So the first is that context is going to infinity. And I think one of the trickiest things in AI engineering to do is to take stock of where things are today and do things as they're possible today, but take into account the Moore's law of capabilities and cost and inference and all that. So what I mean by Moore's law? Moore's law used to be the case where transistors would double on chips every 18 months, right? We could reliably count on that for the past 40, 50 years. The Moore's law of AI, this is a blog post that I'm trying to work on, works in a few ways. One, the context is definitely increasing. We used to have 4K context in GPT-3, and we thought that was happy. We were happy with that. Now we're not happy with 128K context. And obviously Gemini is about 2 billion total context. You should also look out for magic.dev, which is the rumor is that we have 100 million token context, which is effectively infinity. Second is commodification of intelligence. So this chart is a really interesting to understand. It's by a friend, Karina from Anthropic. Now she's just moved to OpenAI. The bottom x-axis is MMLU. The vertical axis is cost per million tokens, right? So this is a log scale. This is a benchmark, and you can see really she color coded by year. So this is the 2022 vintage, the GPTs. They all have this curve, right? So higher MMLU means higher cost. The bigger model, higher cost. Makes sense. But then 2023 vintage comes around and everything downshifts to the red tier, where you're like, oh, okay, for the same level of intelligence, I can just get a way cheaper model. And this is the price drop of something like from like $20 per million to $2 per million. It's a 10x price drop in 1 year. Same thing. So now we're like kind of halfway into 2024. Same thing seems to be happening again for the 2024 vintage, except that we're mostly saturating MMLU. So these things are kind of coming off because there's a lower bound to these things as well. So you want to bet on this, right? You almost want, like, if you're building AI products, you want to lose money now, because if you're not losing money now, you're not using AI enough. you need to use AI more, so that because by the time things roll out in a year, the cost will come down. That's the general takeaway. Okay. Third trend. The commoditization happens in two ways. Model capability will increase, inference cost will go down. That's just a rule. Third trend is multimodal everything. I used to talk a lot about adapters being so cheap. A lot of people don't really understand that Llama was trained like with less than $100 worth of compute. Less than $100 to turn a Llama 3 model into a vision-capable Llama 3 model. That's ridiculous. That is still possible today. Same guy, Hao Tian, I interviewed him for my UX podcast episode. He's just running XAI at Grok. Within 2 weeks, he turned Grok into a vision model. It's very, very easy. The more challenging thing now is omnimodality. This is something I didn't really write here. The paper to read for that is Comedian, which is also the paper that came out of Meta. And it's and there they really explain the difference between late fusion and early fusion of modalities. And so if you're interested in multimodality, definitely check that out. Finally, the fourth one is kind of a fourth trend. It's very, very interesting left field thing. Everything here is kind of very left brain, like logical, very do work for serious business. Like we're serious business people here. We think we value reasoning, we value work, we value logic. There's a lot of people who are being ignored. I call this temperature zero thinking. Right? You get an LLM that's capable of thinking anything, and the first thing you do is you tune the creativity down to zero. There's another set of people who are doing the exact opposite, where hallucination is not a bug. It is a feature. It is something to be celebrated. Your use case is not so brittle that you're like, oh yeah, like we made a mistake here. Now I cannot trust this tool. No, like there's a separate set of use cases with generative AI where you celebrate creativity that you would not get out of a human, but they would be way more expensive to get out of a human. And I think this temperature two thinking is not well thought by the startup ecosystem. Okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to skip all this. Okay, so that leads me to what I work on today, and then we can pause for questions. So I'm currently in the very final stages of planning the AI Engineering World Fair. We had our first conference. Basically, my goal is to basically start this as an industry. I'm trying to getting people together, giving people the tools, giving people the opportunity to find each other, network each other, hire each other, train each other. We had the first conference last year. It went well. These are the logos that we got the first year. And if you kind of scroll down to the bottom, these are the logos, bottom, yeah. These are the logos that we got the second year. This is a screenshot of the t-shirt that we're sending to users. But if you kind of scroll up a little bit, I'll give you an idea of how we're organizing this industry together. So we got all the top model labs. That's OpenAI, DeepMind, and Anthropic. Mistral, Cohere, on the face of that, Journey, character. All three big clouds are represented. We got big codes. So like the NVIDIA, we got Twilio, we got Discord. Very interesting. We got like AXA, like the insurance company. They're also very involved in this. Palo Alto Networks, for like network security. I don't really, it's like really absurd the diversity of use cases that is happening. But I think the main message I want to give to people for this conference is that, I think a lot of people who are normies perceive that AI is just for startups, just for the script kiddies, who are like not really putting anything real. And this whole track is to give the message that no, people are really deploying this in production in sort of very serious companies. And then also like have startups like Modular, which is creating the Mojo, the Python superset that is compiled to the systems language. Cognition, aka Devin, Cursor AI, Perplexity, Grok, Mozilla, Decomposition, and all that. And then finally, I have to curate the tools in the AI engineering landscape, and this is why I bring this up, which is basically it's relevant to the LLM OS, right? Like you have the LLM at the core, and then you have all this ecosystem of tools. Some you were going to build yourself, but some you should probably buy or use the open source versions of. And so I'm just collecting all these line chains and so on. So yeah, that is that. That's the past 1 year in AI engineering. I hope that was a good story for you, and I'm happy to take questions. Much. or we can just.
Yeah.
skip it.
Oh, anyway, everyone's gonna hang around afterwards. So
Do we have time for questions or?
yeah, we have time. If anybody has any questions.
Yeah, that's a great, point for history. It's like overwhelmed, right? Great exchange. However, one area specific medical field, right? I mean, medical fields, yeah, most of these models are coming for great marketing sales, and very few are coming in the medical field now. You have an insight like how things are going, generative AI,
Fortunately, no. Yeah. So the question is about generative AI medicine. I have met founders who are using it for drug discovery. But it's so specialized that I just don't cover it. Well, I'm very proud as a podcast and as a newsletter to have areas of non-coverage. You know, most people are trying to be expensive and try to be everything for everybody. And we're very proud to say that we do not cover military applications, defense, and medicine in general. Oh, and there's also there's a bunch of high frequency trading AI that seems specialized. So I'm just gonna say I don't know. And if anyone else knows, you can talk to me. Yeah.
what do you think of the source?
Oh yeah, it's very popular. So what do I think of open source LLMs versus closed source LLMs? I'm giving the standard line that people say. And so the first I got into this honestly, I started my blog because of stable diffusion. Because I was like, for 4 gigabytes, which I can download and save onto a USB stick, I could effectively have no walls, which is absurd. I actually had the opportunity to hang out with Ahmad Mustaq last year before things collapsed. And he always is of the opinion that open source will trail behind closed source. There was a Google letter this time last year about how Google has no modes and they should be really scared of open source. I think I stand on the side that that letter was full of crap. It was made by a random engineer that doesn't really have any credibility. Open source will trail behind closed source because closed source can always copy techniques taken from open source. And in fact, OpenAI has demonstrated repeatedly that they will do so. The most recent one is the Matryoshka embeddings API that has been added to the embeddings models that we have. So open source will trail behind closed source, but the time lag, it seems to be about a year, in the sense that Llama 3 70B seems to be GPT-4 level, and it took a year since GPT-4. We had Sunil Chintala on the podcast, who's the creator of PyTorch, and Big Kuba, like the Gen AI team. And he said that at the time when GPT-4 was released, Meta internally had a panic session and basically completely reordered the team in order to achieve the goal of shipping a GPT-4 level model. And they did, right? They released Llama 3 and then it works out. The question is whether or not they'll continue to do so, because basically we're subsisting on the charity of first Mark Zuckerberg and second VCs who are funding Mistral and all the others. I think while money is easy, it will happen, but the reality of it is that training costs, data costs are going up exponentially. Currently, a training run for a frontier level model maybe costs somewhere between $100 million to $500 million. Expand it up 2 orders of magnitude, and it's not clear money anymore to VCs. Therefore, you cannot. There will be some point at which open source is dry up. I don't know what to do about that apart from in the long time scale of humanity, it doesn't like we'll figure out how to shrink these things to sizes of intelligence that matter, and we'll be happy with that. And we don't have to be frontier all the time. It's okay if the frontier be closed, and that's fine. If anyone also wants to know, the reason that this debate is currently very, very current thing is because Founders Fund actually put out a blog post that is being criticized a lot because they were basically stating effectively the obvious that closed source will win as compared to open source. Anyone agree?
My question was about inference costs.
Yeah.
So if you know this graph gives you inference at like 0.1 seconds per query, and that makes agents a lot easier to build because if the agent messes up, you can always just for loop train time and until it works. How do you think the intersection of these highly specialized chips for inference are going to affect the viability of agents?
Okay, longish question. Okay, so let's break down a few pieces of that. Then you embedded a few assumptions in there that I don't agree with. So one is very first claim is Grok produces tokens at 500 tokens per second, right? So this is for those who, if you don't have these numbers in your head, you should as an AI engineer. Normal tokens per second is, let's say 100, maybe 150 tokens per second. So let's say Grok is 5 times faster than normal token generation. Is 5 times faster that much better? I would argue no. It looks faster, but it's actually also pretty expensive. And the word on the street, which I happen to believe, there are some credible people who disagree with me, that it is completely unsustainable. It is VC subsidized. You can basically sacrifice batching in order to improve the inference speed, and that is what Grok is doing. They're cheating to deliver you that number so that you have that number in your head, so you do free marketing for you. That aside, but I generally agree that inference speed will go higher, right? So we go from 100 tokens per second to 1,000 tokens per second. I think that does not make agents easier to code, because it is not just about drafting, it is also about all the tools ecosystem that we talked about. And drafting 100 bad drafts still does not get you a good draft. It really doesn't. You need more conscious planning, which is the thing that OpenAI and Anthropic are working really hard on. So I don't know if that fully answers your question. I would say also the other thing is that I think we just need to figure out the form factors that we really want, because right now we don't really know. You know, like I presented you a bunch of stuff. Like the agents that make sense so far is like code interpreter makes sense. A very constrained loop, like code and then debug and then done. But does the original AutoGPT demo was, hey, AutoGPT increase my net worth, right? That's a very general goal with a million steps that could all go wrong. Is that an agent we want? We want it, but it's not realistic. So the form factor really matters. I like the constrained agents, don't be too ambitious, be like pragmatic, and hopefully that helps. That's it.
I'm just curious. You have to argue that the model seems improving and the inference stuff. But I'm just curious, like, as an AI engineer, how do you sort of, let's say when you're building something, how do you expect whether this entire reason is predictable by what model down the line? Because that's something I think as an AI engineer you have to keep in mind, like, building something. So yeah, are there any frameworks you follow to actually sort of think about that?
Yeah. I can cheat because I've talked to OpenAI. What is I should probably stop sharing this. Give me 1 second. This is how I use my Discord, by the way. If you're interested in this stuff, join the Discord. I think Ivan can vouch for it. Ivan runs the paper club every week. Sorry. I know they should have embeddings. Okay. OpenAI internally has 5 priorities, according to them. 1, have state-of-the-art multimodal models. 2, first to market on new capabilities. 3, full stack of AI capabilities under one roof, which means multimodality, dev tools, customization, which is fine-tuning. 4, deep AI expertise and guidance, that's the custom models team. And 5 is a new one, which is intelligence per dollar. So they're working on efficiency, which is GPT-4 Turbo and now Omni. Don't do any of those 5 things and you're good. Yeah, enough said. Yeah, so realistically, so that's my position to answer, but also like it's the most rounded answer to say about it. For me, the way I've been thinking actually is one, you build the more intense version of the basic shit that whatever they is, right? So if you've tried ChatGPT GPTs, the basic RAG is not good. Everyone knows this. They're not serious about it. So just be like, we are this but serious. You win. You just win. The second one is more just like verticalizing for a profession. The boring job of like, hey, you are a lawyer, like, let me listen to your problems, let me solve it with AI. OpenAI will never do this because they're trying to build general intelligence, and you're doing the opposite, building specific intelligence for a vertical, and that becomes very difficult. In fact, I would say that over the past year, I've swung a lot from being a general developer tools infrastructure platform guy, where it's like, no, show me apps. Right. Yeah, I think that's it. Happy to answer questions separately, but I think there's some levels. So, demo time.
All right, thanks, Chris. Steve, do you want to come up? So we have our other sponsor of the night who generously provides access for everyone, Talk AI, and she's going to demo her product.
Do you want to have your demo on my recording?
Which one's the recording?
I'm currently recording.
Oh, sure.
So I'll just.
If anybody else wants to demo after this, please feel
I can
free.
connect to the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, do that because
Oh,
people
how come?
can get running. Yeah, if you want to demo, you know, get it ready and stand over here. And,
Enter guest.
we can go after.
No, wrong one.
Which one?
I'll just help with like
So it is, what's the 1738?
Wait,
It's 128 Ansler guest.
And Fleur gets one word. But I think capital A, capital G.
No.
No, like he says, oh, she says not stable.
Okay.
Oh,
You know, you might see there. It's more like it's technically a university lab, but it's
I need screenshot.
Yeah. Share screen. This just gets your thing recorded. Okay. Oh, and then you need to mirror. Are you mirroring or are you?
Not yet.
So with keyboard.
Firstly, congrats to the organizing team. We're really excited 35 people, and I think we are close to like 80 at this point. So like congrats to everyone who's passionate about like ML and like AI for the Friday night in Singapore. Yeah, so I'm just gonna do a very short demo, and then after that I would love to see what everyone else is building. We are currently rebuilding our data, so my team and I decided to show like a recording of like parts of the product. So just very briefly, we are in the Gen AI phase. But the reason why we started with Gen AI was because actually I used to be an analog illustrator. So what we did was we did information design for a lot of enterprise clients. We will draw like live conference event content. So like what Sweet said, there is a lot of multimodality that's built into like our human brain. So special shout out to my two engineers over there, Alan and Jeff, who are both passionate about solving knowledge and art and design. And we have been going through a very good route where instead of just like dropping on product hunt, we're just testing out like small modules like asset and portraits for like different clients who want to try what Gen AI is. So the way we built it is based on like a few containers, ranging from like voice to text APIs all the way to like text or infographic layouts. So this is the only part that everyone cares about, which is how the product works. One moment. So I'm just showing you like with the end where like the supposed magic begins, where we basically automate the brand logo, hygiene, the colors, the auto-prompted and illustrated assets, and then we auto layout into like what we call blocks. And the reason why we chose blocks was because we wanted to eventually use it for automated social resizing, and also because based on a lot of testing, a lot of our clients actually wanted to make a lot of like not necessary edits, but like auto-prompted like choices. Yeah, so if you want to learn more about what we do, we essentially, you can find us on www.thoth.art of art. And then here are just like more examples of our more recent generations. Yeah, so this was like something we did for Adam D'Angelo's like pop on pole. And then on the right side is like what our illustrator made edits on. On the left side is what our engineers used like 5 minutes to churn out. Yeah. All right, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, so if anyone else wants to demo this, come over here and okay. Hi, I'm Jürgen. I'm the founder and CEO of Decomposition. Yeah. So what we're trying to do, what we're doing is basically we're trying to take traditional APIs that we typically would use when you're building any platform or any business, scraping, translation, emails, and we want to increase the value of these APIs by adding an AI layer. So one example of an API that we did. So one API that is pretty popular that we provide is our AI RAG framework. So for example, instead of writing hundreds of lines of code, you scrape a single eBay website and get a price inspected. You just put in the URL and you write the prompts, and automatically it will go in and extract data for you in a structured manner. So you don't get data that is just unstructured and just a line of text. You get it structured, you get the prices, you get the data. So we do the same thing for many of the APIs. Like few of the things that few of the things that we do is, for example, we try to make OCR more value. So OCR, like I think Sean said today, like the direction of OCR was quite different, right? It's bounding boxes. And that's a lot of inaccuracy comes out when you try to widen the industries and you try to go into different things, you need to find the models specifically to that industry. So we combined it with a lot of vision LLMs, allowing you to improve the quality of the extraction automatically without having to do a lot of work. So we're trying to build a set of tools that basically make developers' life a lot easier when you're integrating or building a platform without having to write tons of code for the specific use cases that you commonly use. And instead you plug everything into one platform. So you integrate once, you get all your logging, all your context models, all your RAG system built into one ecosystem, and you can build your platform. Right? And we're trying to scale the number of APIs we have. Some of it we try to open source. So we open source our subscription model. So we took Whisper Tree, which OpenAI themselves doesn't run as an API service. We optimize it for the cloud and we run it and provide it as an API service so that you guys can basically use it fast and efficient. So that's the kind of things that we do to make it easy. So like the decision between buying versus building, there are moments that technologies that you want to rent or buy rather than build yourself and build better products on top of that. Yeah, thank you. If you have any questions, let me know. Thanks. Thank you.
Okay, so how many people have been to the Machine Learning Singapore meetup? Okay, I'm completely surprised that not many more people have been, given that so it seems like the entrepreneurial ecosystem is distinct from meetup, which is really weird. It's also weird that the people on meetup are using Zoom. There we go. Keep this in mind. Machine learning, Singapore machine learning meetup, it used to be called the TensorFlow and Deep Learning meetup. We've got 6,000 members in Singapore. Do I need a microphone? No, okay. So we've got 6,000 members in Singapore. We meet every month in person on at Google headquarters. So I'm a Google GDE, which is a developer expert, which means they pay for me to fly around and talk. They don't pay me, so I'm kind of like an idiot. So on the other hand, we have this whole meetup, which is why I'm a genius. And basically every month, 200 people come and we'll have talks about a bunch of different things. Basically, if we look at Swix's rollout last year, we were current with everything that's happening in San Francisco. Probably a bit ahead of what we talked about because we look at papers first rather than startups funding. I think we did brag a bit late. Partly was done for me to brag that much. There we go. So the co-organizer is a guy called Sam Whitby. He has a YouTube channel. Like and subscribe if you like all the stuff. Basically, we've been holding these events for the last 7 years. We've been doing this one. Our next event is next Thursday. It's going to be code and vision meet art and efficiency. Basically, we've got 4 talks, and one of the art bit is the art you saw before, which is if she reveals herself, it's someone called Nice Aunties, who's probably seen. Nice Aunties is all over Twitter with this. She has the Auntie-verse, which is whole thing. If you look at it carefully, you'll realize, oh, she must be Singapore. So this is kind of really neat. She is here apparently, and she's So you're selling stuff by NFTs. This is kind of a practical art person. We've also got talks about Reft, and I'll talk about Vision and the Gemini Light, just because I need something to talk about, and I've been doing new RIP submissions, so I need a brief subject. And we've also got a paper talk. Basically, we've got a kind of a mix of stuff, different people. Last year has been really agents and like programming and reflection, all these kind of neat things. We're super into, like, I've been talking about Minecraft forever, right? So this is where, if you want to stay current in Singapore, this is the place to be. Maybe even slightly ahead. It's a bit frustrating that people like as talented as this guy are in San Francisco when he could be good to be here.
Thanks, Martin. But really, it's a great place to be. Like the slide, the presentations are really technical. There's math, there's code, that kind of thing.
The technicality may put people off. That's kind of okay. Because we actually want to talk about how people come along, you stick with it. It's fine.
It's great. OGs.
Yeah.
So I thought this was going to be like a demo type, but then I realized nobody really showed any demo. So basically I'm James Sukia, I'm a co-founder of a startup called Heavily. I'm not here to show like my startup stuff. I'm actually quite interested in this concept of malleable apps. I think there's this guy called Jeffrey did. I think Six might know it. He did like this post about like malleable app and how like AI is gonna help us like generate cool new like malleable interfaces. And I kind of just built this yesterday, so it's kind of rushed. But the whole idea here is we could get. I mean, it's similar to Spaces of Fun. I think you want like the malleable UI or generative UI prize in the AI UX talk in SF, I think last month or something. But what you're seeing here is basically a site that has lots of different apps, right? So you could have like a simple app that sums 3 numbers. It's gonna start really simple here. So this is fully reactive. So if you like swap stuff like this, it just like updates and then do the sum. And you could make this more complicated, and you could have like a Fahrenheit, Celsius to Fahrenheit converter. You do something like this, and then this appears here. So the thing that's powering this is actually a kind of like app descriptor that is a JSON actually on the back end, and it just takes in like different types of components and interprets that into this. But what okay, so these are programmatic, but you see like, let's say the Celsius one, basically the output is just like a JavaScript function that's here. So that makes it simple when we're just like doing simple stuff like this. But what if we want to do something like translate English to like 5 different languages? I'm actually using GD4O at the back end. And then the cool thing here is that instead of just doing like a simple output function, right? What we can do is we can add a new component that is essentially what I call an oracle. Basically, what this component does is just call ChatGPT on the backend again. So if you do something like I don't know, Japanese, whoops, and then I click this, it just takes me at the backend and it generates it. So we could use this to like build like interesting apps. I'm just gonna continue talking when the things down. Okay. So if you look at what this shows at the backend, it's this oracle thing. And all of this is generated by ChatGPT when it's generating the description. So it generates like it generates prompts for this application. So here is like the prompt for the language translation app, and when you're switching it between the different languages here, that toggles the drop down, which has all of these like parameters, substitute that into the prompt. And then when you're clicking this button, then it passes this prompt into ChatGPT 4.0.
and then returns the output here. So yeah, I think this is just something I built quite quickly yesterday. Just something fun that kind of shows how we can use this to create key variable apps. And I think yeah, just something fun that I built. That's all. Thank you. Thank you. Now this is our last demo for the night.
Hi everyone, my name is Prabhu. I'm a Level 1 CS user at MAS. I used to run an economic blog before, and I really hated doing data analysis because I have to go download the CSVs, bother around on what the correct answer is. So I basically wrote a script that uses Llama 3 on Grok to answer queries about Singapore's economic data. As of this morning, I have three datasets I have uploaded, which is GDP, unemployment, and inflation. So does anyone have any questions about those three data series? Like anything you want to know on a daily? Okay, sure. First answer to you. The answer, and it's about $450 billion. $450 billion. But the basic idea is that this can do way more advanced things. Like for example,
that's a feature I'm going to add next. But the forecasts are pretty much right. Taking the regression and calculating that. So it's not that.
but a question you might want to ask is like, which sector, for example, how did hotels do during COVID-19? A sort of question an MP might want to ask in Parliament on the spot. And so you can do this. But yeah, basically, over the next 2 weeks, I'm gonna publish a proper web app, and so you'll be able to use it. Thank you. I emphasize with that. Yeah, you can do it. Well, I totally emphasize, but I add too much guardrails, and then I end up getting many more problems.
Hi everyone, my name is Brendan, and I said that okay. Ignore the arrows. I'll walk you through everything. So my name is Brendan, I'm a research engineer at US, and basically my product wants to solve two problems that I face with LLMs. One is it's a very bad summarizer, and another is sometimes when you build RAG applications, you just like can't get it to work. And so if you face these two problems, like please come and talk to me as well. So I'm going to repeat that again. The first problem is you have extremely long documents, and every time you ask it to summarize, you just miss out a lot of details. And the second thing is when you're building RAG applications, you just can't get it to work. You substitute all your vector embeddings, whatever, and it just does not work. And so my project, and this is a demo by the way, so it's not production really or whatever, it's very hacky. So my project is very simple. What I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to throw the LLM the whole text
and get it to read every single thing component by component and use that way to get it to answer my question instead of via a RAG way. So I guess that sounds a bit weird and just sounds like RAG as well, right? But concretely, how that looks like is I tried it out for some research papers, I guess. So if you guys do RAG, everyone likes to fiddle with like chunk size and those hyperparameters. So instead of doing that, I decided to just like write some regex to pass it into different sections. And that's like my proxy for a chunk size. And I guess just to skip to the gist of it is, it seems to get like a better summary. So anyway, I don't want to walk you through the whole thing because this takes about 2 minutes to run because if you're reading like a 100-page research paper, it's going to take like 2 minutes to look through the whole research paper. But if you're building apps and you also face these two problems, which is the summaries just suck and your RAGs just don't work, yeah, please come and challenge me. Thank you.
Thanks everyone for the demo. It's just some gear, I think, centrally. And we're just staying so for a while more. So just feel free to hang out. And I mean, it's not a projector, so if you guys want to do like smaller group demos and stuff, just feel free to use it. All right, thanks for coming. Enjoy your night.
Thanks for
Sorry guys, opening a shout out, if you guys are interested in research papers, we really especially look at this sort of help. It's going to come down to me. Yeah.
Yeah.